Hello everyone, I'm Shehzhadee, the Managing Director of Shehzhadee Law Corporation. I practice criminal law amongst my other areas of practice. Today's video is particularly relevant to many of us working adults as well as our elderly family members here in Singapore. In today's video, we will be sharing about some rules and regulations that employers of domestic workers ought to take note of to avoid contravening the Employment of Foreign Manpower Act, also known as EFMA. So I will be taking you through rules that you should avoid contravening. Number 1, your domestic worker or helper should work only for you. This means that they cannot work for anyone else. Let me illustrate through 2 scenarios. The first scenario, so you as an employer employ a helper to perform domestic chores, domestic duties in your house. However, you are not residing with your parents, and so on the weekends, you take your domestic helper to your parents' house to clean their house for them. While you may be a filial child and you are genuinely trying to help your parents, this would actually constitute a criminal offense. In such a situation, this offense of illegal deployment would subject you to a fine of up to $10,000 or even jail for up to 12 months, or both. Not just you, even your elderly parents may be implicated as well for allowing the domestic helper to work for them, even though they are not the helper's official employers. Now, the second scenario is a more extreme scenario. So say you have an employer who makes an application to MOM stating or declaring that he wants to employ a certain individual as his helper. But between him and the helper, they have this secret arrangement where the helper will not be working for him at all, but for someone else completely, for whatever reason. So for example, it's for a friend's business or for someone else. So in essence, what this employer has done is to make a false declaration to MOM that the helper is working for him, when in fact the helper is not at all doing so. So this is not allowed. In fact, making this false statement or giving this false information to MOM is very serious. Even for a first-timer, the starting sentence or the benchmark sentence is a jail term of at least a few weeks and a possible fine on top of that. So you as the employer, the helper, or anyone else who is involved may all be charged under the EFMA. The second rule you should take note of is this. When you employ a domestic worker, they are allowed to perform only domestic duties. What does this mean? This means that as an employer, you cannot get your domestic worker to work for or help out in your business. If you do so, you would have committed the offense of illegally deploying your domestic worker. Such businesses also include home-based businesses. So HBBs, do take note, you cannot have your helper helping you in your business, even if physically it's at home. So if convicted of the offense, employers may face financial penalties of up to $10,000 for each charge, and they may possibly be barred from employing a domestic worker in the future. Now, the third scenario is if you make deductions, unauthorized deductions from your domestic worker's salary. Example, your foreign domestic worker should not pay for her own levy. In our experience, we have seen cases where employers choose to employ their foreign domestic workers directly from overseas instead of through an agency. This in itself is permissible, so long as they submit all the required documents. But what makes the arrangement an offense, though, is when these employers enter into an agreement with their foreign domestic workers along the lines of, if I hire you, you will have to pay your own levy. Now that is a criminal offense. So basically, you cannot deduct employment costs like levy from the helper's salary, or you may face a potential fine or jail or both. I hope this was useful to you employers or prospective employers of helpers. Employers who have been contravening the law, please clean up your act. I hope you found this content useful, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye.